Hi, good morning, legislators. Louise Johnson, Skyhill Farm, organic eggs. I want to just comment.
Hold it a little closer to you.
I want to just comment that the Northeast Organic Farming Association of New York has voted to ban fracking and have pages and pages of information about reasons why. And another, just throwback to the last panel, I got solar panels on my farm when a NYSERDA was paying half of the money. Farmers now have to put up the full amount and then get half back, or whatever it is that's coming back. And so I've heard from farmers that they can't afford to get solar panels. They can't afford to put up $60,000, even if they get 30 or 20,000 back in the future. So it's not so much about earthquakes, it's the faults and fractures. Dr. Palmer, hydrologist, geochemist, and former head of water resources at SUNY Oneonta, is concerned about pressurized fracking fluids being transported rapidly and unpredictably through this underground grid of interstate highways, even under mountaintop divides and into adjacent valleys where fracking might be banned. When the fluids, then the fluids will exit the express lane and move slowly with normal groundwater flow toward the valley aquifers that supply more than 75% of the water for reservoirs, lakes, and rivers. So, fracking outside the New York City watershed could fast-track contaminants beneath the topographical divide, protecting the watershed, and they could then seep up into any of the 6 New York City reservoirs in the valleys at the edges of the watershed. The New York City DEP is also concerned and has called for a 7-mile setback outside the boundaries, but Dr. Palmer says the concept of offset from water supplies is entirely inappropriate for this kind of contaminant transport. Using the percentage of benzene in one fracked well and an average amount of frack fluid left in the earth after fracking, Palmer roughly calculates that 1 square mile, 600 feet deep, of underground rock formation can be initially saturated with an amount of benzene that is more than 5,000 times the EPA standard. This scenario considers just a single contaminant in a single well. Indeed, the DEC is asking for 8 wells on a single well pad. This saturation will then move through fractures quickly or fissures slowly, and then down gradient toward valley aquifers in valleys where most people, farms, and industries are located. The DEP has mapped faults and fractures in and around the watershed, but most fractures still remain unidentified. Most are almost impossible to detect, even with geophysical methods. And the DEC doesn't plan to require detection. So are the fractures and the contaminants that they will bring to our drinking water a distant tomorrow's problem? Like the Senator said, 100 years, 10,000 years. Again, this new hydrological study just accepted for publication by Tom Myers projects a time frame of perhaps 10 years or less. Dr. Palmer says there is a real potential for contamination in surrounding river valleys within our own lifetimes. One of our largest river valleys is the Capital District, where the huge valley aquifer beneath the Mohawk River slowly flows down gradient into the aquifer below the Hudson River. So Albany will get to play water tap roulette along with many other valley towns. Farm and wild animals, pets and crops and industry can also play this water roulette game of mostly low-level chronic exposure to a suite of toxic and carcinogenic hydrofracking chemicals far into the future.